In this video, I will explain how to calculate Consumer Price Index and the inflation rate. So let's start with a quick definition. The Consumer Price Index, often abbreviated as CPI, is a measure of the price of a market basket of consumer goods and services. Now, the formula to calculate CPI is the price of the market basket in the current year divided by the price of the market basket in some base year, and then multiplied by 100. And once we know the CPI, we can then use it to calculate the inflation rate, which is calculated as the CPI of the current year minus the CPI from the previous year divided by the CPI from the previous year multiplied by 100. So let's check out an example of how to actually calculate these values. This says calculate CPI inflation rate assuming a household purchases 50 pizzas, 20 burgers, and 10 hot dogs per year. So in this table we have here, we have 3 different years, and we have the prices for 3 particular goods: pizza, burger, and hot dog. Now, in the real world, when we calculate CPI, we include things like housing, transportation, utilities, the price of food. But just to provide a simple example of how to calculate CPI, we're going to assume that this economy only has 3 goods that consumers could actually purchase. So the first step before we calculate CPI and inflation rate is we have to calculate the value of the market basket for these 3 goods. So the way that we do that is very simple. We simply take the quantity, so for example 50 pizzas, and we multiply it by the price of the pizza, which is $10. So let's write that down here. So for the market basket for 2023, we have $10 times 50. Then to that we have to add the quantity of burgers times the price of burgers, so 20 times $4. And then to that we have to add the quantity of hot dogs times the price of hot dogs, so $2 times 10. And when you add all of those values together, it comes out to $600. So the market basket price for these 3 goods in 2023 is $600. Then we just repeat that process for 2024 and 2025 by using the updated values. So for example, in 2024, to calculate the market basket, we'll take $12 times 50 pizzas. So one important thing to note is that when we're calculating the market basket, the quantity of each good is staying the same each year. And the reason for that is that if the price of the market basket increases, we know that it must be due to an increase in price and not just an increase in the quantity consumed. So keep that in mind. So to calculate the market basket for 2024, we'll say $12 for pizza times 50 pizzas, plus we have $5 for burgers times 20 burgers, plus $5 for hot dogs times 10 hot dogs. And when you add all those values together, it comes out to $750. So that will be our market basket for 2024. And then we just repeat the same calculation for 2025. So I'll just tell you that comes out to $960. Now, once we know the market basket for each year, we can then calculate the CPI for each year, which is the price of the market basket in the current year divided by the price of the market basket in the base year times 100. So for the CPI for 2023 is going to be 600, so the market basket in the current year, divided by, for the base year, we're going to assume that 2023 is our base year. So the market basket in the base year is also 600 in this case, and then we multiply by 100. Now, this fraction is just equal to 1, so 1 times 100, that comes out to 100. And what we'll notice is that the CPI in the base year is always 100. And that's because the market basket in the current year is simply equal to the market basket in the base year. So these 2 values are the same. So this will always be 1 times 100 in the base year. Now the CPI for 2024 will be the market basket of the current year, so 750, divided by the market basket in the base year, so 600. And then we multiply that by 100. And that comes out to 125. Then the CPI for 2025 will be the market basket in the current year, so 960, divided by the market basket in the base year, which is still 600. And then we multiply that by 100. And that comes out to 160. So we've calculated the CPI for each year. The last step is we can use these CPI values to calculate the inflation rate each year. So remember, the inflation rate is simply the CPI of the current year minus the CPI of the previous year divided by the CPI of the previous year times 100. So in 2023, there is no previous year for this data, so we'll leave that one empty. But in 2024, we can take the CPI of the current year, so that's 125, and subtract the CPI of the previous year, which was 100, and divide by the CPI of the previous year, which is 100. And then we take that and we multiply it by 100. And when we do that, that comes out to 25%. So the inflation rate in 2024 is 25%. Now, all that means is that the market basket that we measured, the price of that market basket has increased by 25% since the previous year. And then lastly, we can calculate the inflation rate for 2025. So we'll take the CPI of the current year, so that's 160. We'll subtract the CPI from the previous year, which is 125, and then divide by the CPI of the previous year, which again is 125. And then we're multiplying that by 100. And that comes out to 28%. So this tells us that the price of the market basket increased by 28% from 2024 to 2025. So this is an important distinction to make. The inflation rate is measuring the change in the current year relative to the previous year. So this is not a 28% increase relative to 2023, our base year. It's a 28% increase relative to the previous year of 2024. So keep that in mind. So that was just a quick example of how to calculate CPI and the inflation rate.